From the television studios of Elon University, this is One-on-One Sports on the Web. I'm Sean Dolan, and I'm joined today by Doug Williams and Andy Harris for our next installment of What is a Sport, where we look to define what in society is and is not sport. Guys, it's been a while, so let's get right into it. Over the summer, a federal judge ruled that competitive cheerleading is, quote, too underdeveloped and disorganized, end quote, to be considered an official collegiate sport in meeting Title IX regulations. Doug, is cheerleading a sport?
I think it is, and I think the organization is kind of what makes it a sport. I think the fact that good cheerleading and high quality cheerleading, which most of it is on a grand scale, the stuff you see on ESPN, is good because it's organized and it's very practiced and fundamentals. And I think that in general, you've seen the movie Bring It On. I think we all love that movie, and I think Kirsten Dunst is a very attractive woman in that movie because she is an athlete and she is fit, and they all are, and it's a sport. They have athletes who practice it.
Okay. EU, you know. EU, you know. Look, I'm an athlete, guys, because I can do that. No, that does not require athletic ability. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I'm not going to say what those people do is not difficult or doesn't require a ton of dedication, but it's not athletic, and most of all, it's not competition. Cheerleading founded from supporting athletes, from a way to rally the troops and get the fans motivated and into the game. That's where it started. Really, I mean, is some guy sitting on his couch with a foam finger that says number 1? Is he an athlete because he's a cheerleader because he's cheering on his team? No, I don't think so.
I think you're confusing necessarily Elon cheerleading with some of the high competition cheerleading that you can see on ESPN or something like that. Here's my question. Have you ever seen a really out of shape cheerleader? And if so, tell me, because I don't think your answer is going to be no, but I think the reason for that is they're all in shape, which would make it a sport because they're all athletes.
They are in good shape for the most part. For one thing, people in the mascot costumes, they're typically out of shape. I mean, let's be real. But I don't feel that just because they are in decent shape for it necessarily makes it a sport. Because again, it's not, even when it's a competition, it's almost contrived just to make it meaningful almost. Because, well, sorry to interrupt, but the cheerleaders, cheerleading, like I said, comes from rallying the troops around sporting events.
Okay, well, let me pose this question to you real quick because we do need to move on. But does an organization or a competition's organization at a national level make it a sport? Does, like, the grand scheme of it, in terms of its appeal to a wide audience, a national audience, even an international audience, does that help determine whether or not something is a sport?
I don't believe so. No.
No? Okay.
I mean, any sport is going to have a national organization, but just because something has a national organization does not make it a sport.
I think a lot of people watching, and for the very reason that it is a sport, makes it a sport. I think the fact that people are entertained by it, by these athletes who are performing on a high level, I think that makes it a sport.
All right, guys, well, the nature of physical activity in cheerleading will always be contested. Activities like fishing require little to no physical strain whatsoever, and yet it receives national attention on networks like ESPN. Andy, fishing might be developed and organized on a national level. But really, is fishing a sport?
Absolutely not. Fishing is a pastime. Fishing is something you do when you're bored on a Saturday afternoon and you want to kill a six-pack out on the water. Okay? Fishing's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love fishing. I grew up, my granddad had a fishing boat and a little lake house, and we go out there every summer and fish for a week. It's a great time. It requires no athletic ability. You literally sit there on a boat and wait for something.
Okay, well, cheerleading requires athletic ability, though.
Yes, it does.
And you said that wasn't a sport. So where do you draw the line?
For me, it's the competition. Like I was saying with cheerleading, I don't want to go back into this too much, but it's contrived because cheerleading is built around another sport. I'm sorry, like you can't say cheering on a team is a sport.
All right, I will say that there are sports that have more athletic talent necessary than fishing, but I don't know if you've ever caught a 12-pound, 6-foot shark off the, I have. I don't think that's physically possible, but what I'm saying is it is difficult to catch some fish, and it requires, a lot of, reeling in. I'm going a little far with this, but here's what I'm saying. Fishing is difficult because people do it right. The people on ESPN are fishing for bass that are not easy to find, not easy to catch. I think that the fact that it is difficult for the reasons that you have to outthink the fish. That's their territory. You're going in there and you're trying to get them out of there. I think that's what makes it a sport.
So outwitting nature.
Yes, outwitting
makes
nature.
Fishing a sport.
It's bigger than
I like
us.
it. I like where your head's at.
I don't know if I can agree with that.
Well, fishing is an art that requires skill, but little physical prowess. Cheerleading doesn't have enough organization, but believe it or not, cup stacking has both. The World Cup Stacking organization is dedicated to promoting the competition internationally, planning to hold its 2011 championships in London. Guys, this is a powerful movement sweeping the globe, but can we honestly put cup stacking on the same tier of competition as soccer, basketball, football, soccer? Really, like, be honest with me.
Okay, you can't put it in that tier of athleticism, but yes, it requires athletic ability and is competitive, which in my mind is the definition of a sport. Look, I watch these videos on YouTube of like the leading, like the record holders, world record holders in cup stacking. They move faster than I can think. I couldn't even process what they were doing.
I know.
Seriously, go on YouTube right now. Quit watching this and go and watch these videos. Just cup stacking.
Here's the thing about cup stacking. In my opinion, it's a hobby. It's a gimmick. It's something that these people, who, by the way, have 0 friends, they sit down and they sit down and they have these 16 cups or 18 cups or whatever it is, and they're moving it. I mean, you have some cups, I believe, down there. But anyway, they are stacking these cups together like crazy. It's something that if I were to sit down for 2 weeks and lose all control over schoolwork and friendships and women, I basically would just sit there and stack these cups as fast as I could. And then, how is that a sport? By the way, it's not on. You don't see it on ESPN or Fox Sports or any
Yeah,
of
we see
that.
poker on ESPN.
Well,
That's
yeah.
not exactly the standard.
All I'm saying is, it's not. People don't think it's obviously a sport if they haven't even considered it, putting it on the grand scale.
You know what? I will say this, and Doug, you were right. I actually did have some
was
cups
right,
down here.
too.
Tell me, is that a sport?
Yes.
I think
No.
not. No,
No,
way. It's a
not
skill,
a sport.
skill, not a sport. That's going to wrap up this edition of What is a Sport. But while you're with us, check out our other webcast blocks. This week, Luke Lesord, Christine Williams, and Tom Waterman preview this year's NHL season. For Doug Williams, Andy Harris, and all of One-on-One Sports, I'm Sean Dolan. And whose side are you on?